Welcome to Fractured. This is one of our summer specials. We hope watching this short one will encourage you to watch a longer one on the topic. In this episode, we will cover a very important topic, a 1-year-long investigation of several journalists connected to a Lighthouse Report investigation. And one of those journalists today is with us to discuss the situation in North Africa. Klaas van Dijken is a freelance journalist, usually working in war zones, as I read.
Well, actually, I'm one. I'm not a freelancer anymore. I used to be a freelancer for many years, but since 2019, I'm one of the founders and directors of Lighthouse Reports.
Wonderful. Klaas, we invited you here to actually discuss and to learn more about what is happening in North Africa with asylum seekers and migrants, people who try to cross to Europe. So every year, tens of thousands of asylum seekers are being dumped basically in the desert or in some remote areas in North Africa. And it is all to prevent them from coming to Europe. According to your investigation, how does it look like? What is really going on there?
So we investigated and focused on 3 countries in northern Africa: Tunisia, Morocco, and Mauritania. And what we discovered that in all of these 3 countries, wherever the government forces, they are on a daily basis arresting people on the streets, and then mainly black African migrants and asylum seekers. They're arresting them on the streets. They put them on buses and put them in detention centers. And then from these detention centers, they are transporting people, men, women, children, to remote areas or the desert, and they just leave them there without any food or water or any assistance.
You mentioned Morocco and Tunisia and Libya.
Mauritania.
Mauritania.
And Mauritania.
I saw in April 2024, I think, the president of Tunisia and the president of Algeria and the head of Libya's presidential council, they have a meeting in Tunisia, and they discussed better coordinate border security. For me, I call it, maybe they discussed how to torture people effectively. And, they talk about a lot of stuff and mainly about migrants. And I wanted to ask you, what has been the role of North African government in facilitating these deportations?
The North African countries or the governments, they are basically carrying out the work that Europe doesn't want to do themselves. So European governments and the European Union, what their aim is that they want to avoid that people are crossing from Africa into Europe, and they make deals with Northern African countries. So they give a lot of money, equipment, other kind of support. With, in exchange, the promise from these countries that they will prevent people from crossing the central Mediterranean towards Europe. And the Northern African countries, what they are doing is providing the infrastructure for these kind of operations, which are completely illegal.
I read an article you wrote, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and the title is How a Brutal Militia Leader Became Europe's New Henchman. You talked about the role of Khalifa Haftar with his militia intercepting refugees in the Mediterranean Sea and forcibly and taking them to Libya and then dumping them in the deserts. What role these private organizations, third-party organizations play in these operations?
Yeah, so Europe goes really far when it comes to controlling migration. So whenever let's take one step back. Europe tells its audience or the constituencies, taxpayers, that they are doing everything they can to what they call crush the gangs. So they are saying we have to fight smuggling and human trafficking, because they are the real problem. They are the reason why people can come to Europe. And if we stop the human trafficking and the human smuggling, then we reached our goal, and people will not come to Europe anymore because there's no facilitation, and people will just stay in Africa where Europe would like them to have. Um, this is, of course, for multiple reasons, complete fiction. Um, it is the smugglers are not the real problem. They often are also called the facilitators, or the travel agents for people that are seeking safety. Um, and But what Europe is actually doing, or European countries are actually doing, is that they are working or happy to work together with militias like Khalifa Haftar, or the son of Khalifa Haftar. And Haftar is a warlord that is controlling most of eastern Libya. And he established some kind of government there, but that's not recognized by the European Union. It's the western side of Libya and the government there that's recognized by the EU. But they are still happy to work with this man when it comes to stop migration.
It seems that they are targeting only black people, and there is a story in the report, in the Lighthouse report, about a U.S. citizen that was abducted and sent to the desert. Imagine if he didn't have money, if he didn't know people, he would stay there, he would be in a different country. And also, I saw in 2023 Libya deporting 350 Egyptians, and I told you before, and they were treated really nice because they are Egyptians, they are afraid of Egypt. And so how does this racial profiling factor into the selection of individuals for these deportations?
I think this American at the time was a resident of Morocco, right? And he was actually in one of those deportation centers or something of this sort for several months before he managed to clarify the situation.
Yeah. So what happens to a lot of people who are not Moroccan and who are black, and are either working in Morocco or are there willing to, or with a plan to move to Europe, or just temporary, or as a tourist. What I've seen happening in Morocco is that the Moroccan authorities, they have a special group, paramilitary group, the auxiliary forces, that are putting white fans and strategic places in the city. And these areas where they put the fence are the areas where mainly black people are living and are doing their shopping, etc. They are at the markets, and they have plainclothes agents scouting the streets for everyone that is black. And then whenever they see somebody, they can just grab that person from behind with one or two people. They call the people in the van passes by, and they put the people in the back of the white van, and they drive them to administrative kind of buildings, and then they keep them there for the day. And then by the end of the day, they all gather the people at a large police station, in, for example, the capital Rabat. And then each night there is a huge bus going out of the city, and they dump people in a remote place in Morocco. And this is happening it's really a system. It's happening on daily basis, on an industrial scale, and it's happening to tens of thousands of people each year.
Klaas, so I assume that by now people already realize this, right? So when they come to countries like Morocco, for example, they know that they can be captured and dumped again in the desert. Are they trying to hide somewhere in urban centers or outside urban centers. We've been to the border between Morocco and Ceuta. So we were in Ceuta in the Spanish enclave, right? And a friend was showing us on the other side where people stay in the jungle, and sometimes those being also raided, and people are being taken somewhere farther. Is this what is happening everywhere basically right now in Morocco?
I think in the cities, people are there are many people who are avoiding going out during the day. So they're only going out when it is dark, and there's less police on the street. Or as somebody told me, he will take a child with him on the street. That person didn't have children himself, but then he took a child from a friend to go out, because he was saying, well, they arrest they arrest people, but they arrest adults, and they don't take black people when they're together with a child. So in a way, he was saying a child is my residency permit in Morocco, because that's the only way I can go out during the day. So that's how they do it in the cities, and it's true. And in other places, they're hiding outside the cities, and try to avoid being arrested by police or other forces.
In your investigation, you are uncovering certain things, the obvious connection of the European Union. So you're saying that European Union not only finances those operations, but is also directly involved in it. Can you tell us, how did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah. So in especially in Mauritania, there's a very clear example on how European countries are directly collaborating with governments to carry out these clandestine operations. In Mauritania, it is when people are being arrested at sea, for example, when they're on the way to the Canaries, they are often intercepted because the Spanish or the Spanish Guardia Civil, the Spanish police, gave the coordinates of certain boats, refugee boats, to the Mauritanian authorities. These people are being intercepted, and they are put in detention centers where Spanish officers have access to. And some of our team members have seen this themselves, that Spanish officers entered the detention center. These officers then take photographs of people who are in the centers, and we know that they are also getting the lists of names of people that are about to be deported to Mali and Senegal. So, and we know that also in Mauritania, in the largest cities, there are on a daily basis raids going on, and we know through sources that Spanish officers are accompanying Mauritanian forces to carry out these street operations, and that um, and then after people are being put in detention and they are there for a couple of days, and they're being bussed out of the city and dumped in the desert in Mali, for example, in an area where there are also jihadist groups active. So it's really that's really a war zone.
Yes, exactly. That's basically an active war zone. Horrible things
Yeah.
are happening right now in Mali.
Absolutely, and we tried to go there ourselves, but we weren't allowed in by the Mauritanian authorities at that time, because they were making a new deal with Europe to get more funding to stop migration, and they were saying as long as this deal hasn't been signed, we are not allowing any journalists in to cover migration in our country.
In some cases, I heard that these people are forced to join militias and even Boko Haram
Really?
because, you either join them or you die. So they select some of them when they find them. They give them this choice if you want to join or not. It's really bad. Your investigation is really amazing, especially for the people who don't know. And I know many people who had no idea about what's happening and they wouldn't even believe it.